We live in a age of influencers. There are so many people on Instagram whose job it is to influence people's opinion. And in that way, our opinion is always influenced. And what happens is our own opinion becomes dirty with everything that we've absorbed from outside. When you close your eyes, you're much more able to connect to what's happening inside. I was really able to connect to my inner voice, my inspiration, my muse, really how my inner voice sounds when it's not influenced from outside. What happens is our own opinion becomes dirty with everything that we've absorbed from outside. Welcome back to you close your podcast by Yandara. I'm Yael Ginzburg, and today I have a solo episode. I really like these episodes that I get to kind of share more from my perspective, something that, in interviews, it's very different because that's kind of the time for me to explore the world of the guest, and which I love so much and truly appreciate being able to do so. Words can't describe how much, but this is kind of my time to connect and share more of myself. I'm in Israel right now. I came back a week ago from Yandara. I was in Mexico. I went there to record some episodes, and it took me a while to kind of settle in. It felt like 2 days traveling. It's a 10-hour time difference. So it really took me sometimes to settle in, and especially since, Yandara is such a beautiful, peaceful place, and I'm coming back to my home country that is not doing so well, to say the least. So it took me time to adjust for sure, but my time in Yandara and before that I was in LA definitely allowed me to refresh, regroup, settle in myself, and come back with renewed energy to make a difference here in the world, and specifically in Israel, to keep holding the vision of peace and just light, that there is a light in the end of the tunnel. It's a really difficult time here, but also anywhere around the world. It feels like the world is kind of crumbling down. I feel that there's going to be some sort of like peak, and after that we're just gonna be on the rebuilding. So that's just my personal opinion. I hope it doesn't get too bad, but it feels like the world is definitely going through something very big. And this time at Yandara, connecting with such incredible people really reminded me that there is hope and there is light, and it's up to each one of us to cultivate this within ourselves and keep spreading it out to the world. I'll go more into that maybe in a bit, but I was inspired to do this episode because while I was at Yandara, I actually met so many people who listen to the podcast, and that was really exciting in itself, because I always send the podcast out to the world and I see numbers, but I don't know who is actually listening. So it was really fun to meet some people who listen, to chat, to hear like how it connects with you in your world. So if you're hearing this, I would love for you to reach out and just, check in, connect. Me and Dara, we really appreciate that. That's kind of like the fuel to do this project. But in a few conversations that I've had, it seemed that there was, a little bit of unclarity. Is that a word? That it was a little bit unclear about kind of what's happening with the podcast, because I know that I announced that I'm leaving and that something new is going to come. And then, and then I didn't leave, and I came back and episodes continued. So I did want to share a little bit what was behind it. I mentioned it in one of the episodes, but I just wanted to kind of clear everything up. So what happened was that I was feeling a little bit discouraged and overwhelmed with the podcast, because I was doing everything. I was doing like the recording and interviewing, of course, but also the editing and the copy and, all of the behind the scenes, which is really cool. But I just realized that it wasn't my strength point. And, I started to kind of resist the work that I needed to do around it, like the editing part. And it made it not fun for me. And I mean, I think I was a little bit like black and white in my thinking. And I was like, okay, if I don't want to do editing, I should stop the whole podcast. Which, when I thought back on it, I realized that it really doesn't have to be that black and white. There's so many other options. And once I realized that I can and should work with an editor, it really completely changed my whole perspective on how to approach this project. And I came to the school again and I told them that that's how I feel, and they are so loving and welcoming and supportive and really believe in this project, and they were happy to continue. So I was lucky in this way. But I think there's a few different important aspects of this. Like, one is the fact that when we take on too many things on ourselves, it can really discourage us from doing the thing that is really our passion and the thing we're really good at. And just realizing that it's okay to delegate and ask for help and free your time. Like, when something creates so much resistance in you that you are really resisting putting any time on the project, it can be on anything. It can be on a work project, but it can also be on working out. Like, if you choose a workout that makes you super tired and you don't enjoy it, and you're just like suffering before the workout, during the workout, and after, then it's just going to make you discouraged to continue consistently showing up for that workout. So, in anything that we want to commit to in long term, we have to realize where are the biggest points of resistance for us. What are the things that make us totally deterred from wanting to continue on that work, and find solutions to make that easier for ourselves. Like, if it's getting help from other people, and there's other solutions rather than like things you need to pay for, you can always find creative ways. But like in the example of the workout, there's so many different other workouts that you can do. Like, find something that you love doing, that you enjoy doing, or maybe not love, because we might not love working out, but at least you can enjoy it and you feel good after it and you feel that you can make progress. That is the type of thing that really helps us be consistent and keep going back to that thing that we know is good for us, that we know is going to contribute to our growth, but we might not, love doing it. So with the podcast, I love doing the podcast itself, like the interviews and speaking to people. That part I love. The editing, not so much. So I decided to work with an editor and free up this huge mental resistance that I had towards it, and, use that time to create other things that I love creating. So that was, I think, one really important aspect of that situation as a lesson for me. And the second one is that you can change your mind, When I realized I want to change my mind, I was a little bit embarrassed. I, made an announcement everywhere basically. And then I changed my mind. Then I realized that wasn't what I wanted anymore. And I could have let that stop me and just left it that way. But then I would have stopped with this project that I love doing so much. Sometimes there are decisions that aren't easy for us to take. I wasn't feeling whole about this decision when I made it. I was very hesitant about it. And sometimes you just have to make the decision to realize what you really want, because it was hard for me to understand if the hesitation is fear or if it's because that's not really the right thing. I was like seeing only two options and not seeing that there is a third and probably 10 other ones. And I think that in the process of making conscious, aligned choices, realizing that you can always change your mind and you can always go back. Like, some decisions are unreversible, but most decisions you can reverse. And if you go down one way and you realize it was the wrong way, it's okay to take a few steps back, retract on your steps, and choose the other path. That's totally fine. And you might, kind of absorb some losses in doing that, but at least you got yourself back on the right track, which I think is the thing that's important, not letting pride or fear or what will people say or something like that, or ego, to stop you from being human. It's only human. It's okay to change our mind. When you have a certain opinion, it's not that you signed a contract with the devil, and that's your choice for life. You can always change your mind, especially if you know that's the right thing for you. So I changed my mind, and I'm so happy that I did, because now I have been to Yandara and it was so, so incredible. I want to tell you that the episodes that we recorded there are incredible. I am so proud of the evolution of this project, and just really, I can't wait to share these incredible conversations. Of course, the incredible teachers of Yandara and other beautiful teachers that were there while I was there. I also recorded a few episodes in LA that have come out already. I feel the evolution of myself as a human, as a teacher, as a student, as an interviewer, the evolution of the teachers who I get to speak with really every year, and now for about 3 years, which is really incredible. And the knowledge, the wisdom that has come through in these recordings, really, I just can't wait to share. But I also want to extend an invitation, because it'll be so helpful for us if you guys help support the podcast. So of course, if you're listening, subscribe. If you want, you can rate the podcast or comment. All this interaction really helps spread the word. And more helpful is to actually send the podcast to a friend, a family member, anybody that you think will enjoy this content, this approach that we bring about the energetic world that we live in, and how to combine that with the practical, physical world that we live in, which is, I think, the key to a happy, harmonious, balanced life. And it will be so helpful if you help us share the word. And just as a closing note, I want to share also about my experience with deleting the social media apps on my phone during this trip. So I was away for 5 weeks, and 4 of those weeks I deleted social media from my phone and didn't really go in, only for like research on guests and stuff like that, to be honest. But I tried to not look at all at what's happening on social media as a point to like really take this time to disconnect. And it was such an incredible experience. First of all, to realize how addicted I was. I was in this habit of just like reaching for my phone all the time. And in the first few days, I always had this habit. And after a while, it stopped, which was really nice. And just this experience of, disconnecting from all the time, seeing what is happening everywhere all the time, not only being connected to the news cycles, which are all over social media all the time, and, our huge energy drainers. Our energy is such an important resource that we have, and it's not only important to put our focus on things that fill us with energy, but it's also really important to take the time to distance ourselves from the things that drain our energy. And some of these things, it can be people that drain your energy, or certain circumstances like your work environment, or just different environments that you're in. Working on things that you don't want to do is a huge energy drainer, like the editing for me. And so many things on social media drain our energy constantly. The comparison that is just inevitable when you are constantly seeing what everybody else is doing in their life. And, we live in an age of influencers. There are so many people on Instagram whose job it is to influence people's opinion. And in that way, our opinion is always influenced, whether we realize it or not. Just watching a video on Instagram can slightly influence our opinion. And what happens is our own opinion becomes dirty with everything that we've absorbed from outside. And I say this all the time in my classes. Sometimes when you close your eyes, you're much more able to connect to what's happening inside, like the sensations, the guidance, your inner voice. And that's kind of what it was. It was kind of like closing my eyes to the world of comparison and expectation of social media. And in that way, I was really able to connect so much more to my inner voice, to connect to my inspiration, my muse, connect with really how my inner voice sounds when it's not influenced from outside, which I think is a really valuable experience. So I appreciate that so much that I got the chance to do this, and really recommend that you find a time to even just a little bit disconnect from outer influence, whether it's just taking some time in nature without your phone, or just finding time to disconnect from your phone. On weekends is a great time to just take a few hours or a whole day that you're not on social media, or even delete it from your phone so you're not tempted. And really, as a recommendation, to start to become aware of the things in your life that fill you with energy and the ones that drain you from energy. And you can sense that immediately if you're having an experience, or if you're leaving a meeting with a friend or a loved one or someone. Check in with yourself and see, how do you feel? Do you feel fuller or do you feel emptier after that experience? And that is a really big gauge to see where we should spend more of our time and where we should spend less of it. So those are just a few of my thoughts from this recent trip. I'm back in Israel with a lot of energy to do good here. And I just wanted to come say hi, to connect a little bit, to share. Yeah, I'm just wishing you to have a beautiful day and to keep spreading the love and peace and a vision that the world is going to see better days, that better times are going to come, and that it's up to each one of us to hold that vision and make that vision a reality. Thank you for listening.